Indexing your finger on a firearm, styles of holsters, and draw stroke. Let's talk about it. A new shooter that I'm instructing shared with me a video from Coleon where Coleon's responding to a video where a guy accidentally shot his Johnson upon clearing the holster. That's a tragic scenario and we don't want that to happen. So let's clear some things up. Okay, my goal is not to bash the dude, talk about that. Really, this is not even really a response to Coleon and his video, even though I am going to point out a couple of key things. But the idea of this is to show you proper indexing, whether we're clearing the holster or whether we're in a position to move. It doesn't change, okay? And this ain't it. It's right here. We want to have our finger on the slide while we're in the indexed position. And it can be accomplished while I'm clearing the holster. There's actually benefit to this, as it's also killing a potential detrimental situation. When I index up here, I'm actually getting a higher purchase. It's allowing me to get more into the beaver tail with the webbing of my hand, which is establishing a better grip. The goal on step one when we go to draw is establish master grip. Okay, so this actually aids to that. Not only does it aid to it, step 1B would be don't shoot yourself as you're clearing the holster. This also aids that. Look at the space that I have in between there. Now, guns are not created equally. Some of them, the trigger guard may be further, maybe shorter, okay? I have sausage fingers, right? I can't even really get over there. This is not a good place for me to have my finger. It's going to potentially fall into the trigger guard and then obviously onto the trigger. So we mitigate that by being up here, which once again establishes a better grip and it's in a lot safer position. If I'm moving and for some reason take a spill, I can land on this gun like this. Not ideal, but I can land on it. And if I'm here, this is once again raising the potential for NDs. So up here is where we do it. And it starts as I clear the holster. Okay, so that gets me into holster styles. Now, and look, all the guns are clear and safe, okay? We have this holster and this holster, okay? Both appendix carry. The belt hooks here are on the slide and here they're off of the slide. Now, this is usually talked about within comfort and actually, printing. The idea of this is to move it over, which pushes this over, stopping it from printing so much on tightly worn shirts. And that does work. But also, you'll notice that this one has a little area right here. For me, I can actually get my finger there, which would be a poor position. Now, that doesn't mean that the belt hooks here stop me from indexing right there. Not at all. Once again, I'm able to get high on the gun and actually establish a really good grip with a correct indexing point, right? All my touch points are good, and this is one of them, okay? So this allows for finger placement there, where this one, if it's something that you're worried about, and even though this is arguably a more comfortable holster, which, for me, my body type, I do actually wear a belt. This is definitely better. I move a lot around for work. I can bend over easier. Once again, another video, okay? But you can see here, this holster stops that from happening because, your finger just doesn't want to go there. How do we accomplish this, right? We accomplish this through dry fire. If you're dry firing, especially as a new shooter and you're trying to establish muscle memory, one of the key components of that is establishing correct muscle memory, okay? Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect, right? So if you're practicing and you're doing these things, which we all are guilty during dry fire, and you should push the limits in dry fire where there's no bullets in the gun, and you can expose little issues that you have when you're under duress or trying to move at higher speeds, right? But this right here should be established in dry fire as soon as I clear the holster, that my finger is in good positioning pretty far away from the trigger, okay? Now, we have different styles of holsters. This one, this is a level 3 or level 2 because I don't have the hood on, right? I can also clear this holster once I depress the button and get in the same position, getting high up on the gun. This is a good purchase, right? And it's clear and safe. So say I'm like trying to break out and move, and we're gonna move before we actually get engagement, but I want this thing to be ready. This is how I'm running with the gun, right? This big monstrosity doesn't stop me from doing that. Okay, now that leads me into this holster. This holster is unique, okay? This is not what I would consider an ideal carry option, right? For like everyday carry, right? You need to be appendix. That is your most tactical position, and concealment is important for all y'all open carriers. I was once guilty of it, okay? But this particular holster has a locking system that you have to actually push the button to get it out, right? Some of these are spun around. You can see holsters with the same method, but the locking system is spun around where you're actually depressing it right here, right above the trigger. So now you are actually putting force down while you're trying to clear the holster. That's a bad idea, okay? If you have a holster like that, it would be upon my recommendation to trash it, right? And if you do want to carry a holster with a locking system like this, you need to find one where the orientation, the button is depressed on top of the slide. So when you do drag out, you are actually in, once again, the correct indexing position. So that is, once again, it's a very specific thing to this holster, but once again, I have this cohesion across platforms and across holsters, which is another thing that I want to talk about. You notice I have two holsters, look oddly identical, don't they? That's not by chance. It's not just because I am in love with this color. They're set up the exact same way because my two main carry guns, which are these two, I want them to come out of the same holster. Because when I dry fire these things and I get familiar with a certain set of equipment, cohesion across platforms goes a long way. My rifles, if I can have a rifle that I haven't shot for a year, sit down, and when I pick it up, I have certain touch points that are across platform. So no matter, as soon as I grab it, it feels just like the other rifle that I've been shooting. Maybe the furniture's different. Maybe it's got a different optic on it, but there are certain touch points on that thing that are identical. And I think that's something to be said. You should practice those things. So if you're one of the guys who's got, 15 different pistols and you carry one every other day of the week and it's different and you got different holsters, that means your dry fire should be 15 times higher than everybody else's. Or just limit it down to one very good selection. And even if it's one or two, you have things in play like this, where you got this type of cohesion going across platforms where you're not changing so many things up, okay? Now in Coleon's video, he talks about like rolling his hand and doing all these things. Look, you can't get a master grip established on this and roll your hand. And it doesn't even really matter where you're at, right? It definitely not from the butt. And 6 o'clock, it's a poor carry. Okay, I said what I said, right? But this right here, you can't do this, right? It's ridiculous. It is not even practical advice, whether it's good advice or bad advice, clearly bad advice, but it's not even practical. Like, you cannot do that, right? So the idea is to not have finger here. It's to have finger up here. This is good for movement. This is good for grip, getting high on the gun, and this is a safe index away from the trigger. Obviously, going to help mitigate negligent discharges, whether you're clearing or you're moving. I don't see why this isn't like talked about more. I've been in the shooting world, shoot all over our nation, and have talked to, I mean, just thousands of people about this and see different ways. This is something that should be across the board the way that we do things, right? This is the correct indexing. And that's really all there is to it. Don't shoot yourself in the Johnson.